Russian Alexei Nemov won all-around gold 4 years ago at the Goodwill Games. 13 world and Olympic medals later, he's here to defend his title. Young teammate Alexei Bondarenko is the new rising Russian star. He surpassed Nemov on home soil, but he'll have to overcome serious injury here to realize his golden dreams. Belarusian Ivan Ivankov, back from a career-threatening injury, is reigning world all-around champion. He's proven he's more than tough enough to take on the best. And now the big three meet in the men's all-around inside Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Hello, everyone. Working with me, of course, two great Olympians from the 1980s for the U.S. team, Kathy Johnson-Clark and Bart Connor. And Kathy, the star of the '94 Goodwill Games, Alexei Nemov, now got the nickname Sexy Alexei. What's that all about? There is no doubt this young man has appealed to audiences all over the world, and not just because of his gymnastics, but his persona, from blowing kisses to the audience, training with his shirt off. He's a handsome guy, and the crowd loves him. He's got great gymnastics, though he's not in top form here. I think we'll see some big scores, and some we'll have to see. Bart, Alexei Bondarenko, also not in top form, despite the fact that he's the new European all-around champion.
That's true, and the world silver medalist. But back while he was in Russia, before he came over here, he had a foot injury. He had a cortisone injection, and it has since become infected, and it's getting worse day by day. Now, he's on antibiotics, and his coaches say that he's going to take it one event at a time and see how long he can make it through this competition. Well, overcoming pain is all too familiar to Ivan Ivankov as well, but even when his body yields, his spirit won't. Here's Jim Lampley with more.
I remember, even though I was only 6 years old, these two men walked in. I was sitting right here, and they said to the class, "Who here wants to be a movie star?" And so I raised my hand.
It's really my story, because it was me and another coach. We said brave, strong boys were needed for a film about war. The test was to do 10 pull-ups in the playground.
It was in autumn. We were dressed in heavy coats and boots. I took off my coat and kept the number 10 in my head. So I started 1, 2, 3.
When he got to 7, we said, "Okay, great, we'll take you." But he refused to get down. He was determined to do all 10.
I remember how much it hurt, but I did 8 and then 9.
He used all his strength. He was trembling with tears in his eyes. I knew then something serious could come of this boy.
Finally, my coach helped me just a little bit, and I made a 10 pull-up.
My son was always refusing to give up, even when the coaches told him to. He has gone to competition with broken elbows, with his teeth falling out, with high fevers. And not only does he go, but he wins.
I never want to be in this situation where once you have fallen, you cannot rise. I want to show that I can rise above the surface.
It was at the Atlanta Olympics that Ivan Ivankov found for the first time in his life he could not rise. After years of training with a sore Achilles tendon, treating the pain with massive doses of cortisone, he found there was no tendon left to treat. It had simply dissolved. He collapsed in an Atlanta hospital, and so did his dreams. Instead of a medal, he got surgery. Doctors had to stretch the remaining tendon from mid-calf all the way down to his heel.
I watched from the sidelines, just frustrated, thinking I could win this, and then we lost the team bronze by only 2 points. If I had been out there, things would be different.
This whole experience changed Ivan, because after years of expecting himself to be some kind of machine, life taught him at the most crucial moment that he is human. He came home from the Olympics a different person. He grew up.
Deep inside, there is a change in Ivan Ivankov. Outwardly, he showed the world that 1 year after surgery, he could reclaim his world championship. In many ways, he's still that same child who clung to the pull-up bar. refusing to let go.
I am the same child in that classroom. Only now, gymnastics is my teacher. I can't imagine a single day that I could not stand on my hands. It's inseparable from me.
And when we come back, Ivan Ivankov will start tonight's competition on the floor exercise. Once again, he refuses to let go. Inside Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum as the men's all-around gets underway. Alexei Bondarenko of Russia, the '98 European all-around champion, and he will be on the pommel horse to start this evening off, but some concern about the foot, Bart Connor, although this one event would be probably a good way for him to start.
It certainly is a good way for him to start. He said he's going to go one event at a time. Once again, it's an infection in his right foot after he had a cortisone shot back in Russia. And it's gotten worse, but the trainers here told me they finally got him on some heavy-duty antibiotics, and it seems to calm down the infection a little bit. It shouldn't affect him at all here on the pommel horse. He's a very balanced gymnast, good on all 6 events, although he did admit that this was the most challenging event for him to come up with a routine that had a 10-0 start value.
Recently won the silver medal on this event at the European Championships.
Boy, technique. Oh, a little bit trouble there.
Whoa.
He broke form, but he kept the rhythm going. That's amazing. Most other gymnasts would be standing on the floor next to the pommel horse asking what just happened. He stayed on.
Well, it threw off his rhythm a little bit. It did take him a while to get back.
19-year-old Alexei Bondarenko.
He sure had to get tough in this first event. He was cruising very nicely. Here's a good look at some of the combinations as he travels across the horse using the leather. The sequence here where he's around in the prone position, that's what they call Russian Moors. He earns several bonus points for doing that.
Bondarenko awaits his score, and we now move to Ivan Ivankov. Remember, it was just about a year ago, Ivankov, Bondarenko, and Nemov met for the last time in a major competition. The Worlds in Lausanne, Switzerland. Blaine Wilson of the USA there as well. He got a 10th in the all-around. He'll be a factor this evening.
Tricky event for Ivankov. Not a bad start, but we talk about the story of injuries here. Here's the young man who recovered from that brutal Achilles tendon. Nice job on that landing.
You have to cringe every time he punches to go into a big skill. The amount of stress that tendon takes to get up in the air is unbelievable.
We talked with his coach, Victor Doilidov, before the event, and I said, how is Ivan feeling? And he said, you know, it takes him normally 5 or 6 days to recover from the jet lag of traveling from Minsk, and he's only been here 4 days, so he thinks he's just a little tired.
Such a pretty gymnast. The finesse and the style.
Like Bondarenko, very balanced, has no weak event. Last tumbling pass should be a pike double back somersault. Just a little shaky on that landing.
Ivan Ivankov, the 97 and 94 world all-around champion. Bondarenko, his score on the pommel horse, a 9.3. Alexei Nemov, the man who owned the Goodwill games in '94. His coming out party in international competition, 4 gold, 6 total medals. That was in St. Petersburg. And the score for Ivankov at 9.3. That ties him at this point in the lead spot with Bondarenko.
It's funny, Bart, no matter where he is in terms of his training and the level of his fitness, he's always great on this event.
Wow, what power. And he went out of bounds. He'll lose a 1/10 of a point for stepping out of the blue carpeted area. You're right, it's always a pleasure to watch him on the floor, show his style and his power. It's interesting, when we saw him first arrive here a few days ago, he looked a little heavy. And some gymnasts feel you actually do a little bit better on the floor when you are heavy. The mat is spring-loaded, a little more mass, you get a little more spring out of those spring-loaded floors.
He probably has the best combination of style and finesse on the one hand and power and technique in the tumbling. This was the only event he finaled in at the World Championships, but he won it.
Alexei Nemov delights the crowd, the defending world champion on the floor.
You can really tell he was bummed about stepping out of bounds on this first pass. Beautiful in the air. Full twist on the second somersault. But of course, he had to stumble a little on the landing and just stepped over the line.
Despite stepping out in the floor exercise, Alexei Nemov picks up a 9.45 to take the lead after the first rotation. Ivankov in third. Bondarenko is tied for third. Lots more when we return to Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum.
Coming up, coming off the 2-year period which has dramatically changed her life, all-around champion Dominique Moceanu joins us live. National anthem last night, celebrating Dominique Moceanu's victory in the all-around competition. That was about 24 hours ago, and you could see the shot of Dominique wiping away the tears as the anthem was completed. Dominique Moceanu, I have spoken leading into this about the trials and tribulations you underwent in the last 2 years, the kinds of things that could have bothered a 35-year-old athlete, much less a 15-year-old. Through all the injuries, the growth spurt, the coaching changes, what was the lowest of low points for you?
I've just been through a lot. Going through this growth spurt, I had knees and back pains and just a lot of injuries just nagging. And I'd been through a lot of coaches and just a lot of different things, but finally found one that I stuck with and I wanted to prove everybody that I could do it again. And, you know, it was very emotional for me.
Well, we saw the tears during the national anthem, but even before that, as the competition was winding down last night, you were clearly fighting back tears. Were you surprised at the depth of your emotional response to winning?
I was a little bit, but my coach believed in me, and she always had faith in me and encouraged me all the time. That she said, if you do well, you can hit and you can win. And I was like, I'll just go with that thought and try to stick everything, and that's what I tried to do.
Dominique, when you were 14 years old, you treated the Olympics as a be-all and end-all experience in your life. Reading your quotes today, I get the impression that you don't necessarily feel that way anymore.
I'm sorry?
Well, do you still feel that the Olympics are the ultimate experience in your life, or do you place them in a slightly more limited perspective than was the case 2 years ago?
That excitement was different. It was the team, and I was younger, and a lot of things. It was just a different excitement, and I'd always wanted to win something individually like this, something big that, you know, I could remember forever. And I've always dreamed of myself being up there on that podium, being, you know, in the all-around, trying to be #1, and, you know, internationally. So it meant a lot to me, and back then it was different, and now it's different in a lot of ways. And it was really great. I can't explain it.
Well, thank you so much for being with us last night. Dominique, you won something that all of us will remember for a long time. And with the World Championships in China next year and the Olympics in Sydney right after that, we have to believe you're back in the hunt for gold.
We'll see. Hope so.
Thank you very much, Dominique Moceanu. In 18...
Night of competition for the men, and the standings midway through the 6 rotations. From Belarus, Ivan Ivankov has the lead. Zozuya of Ukraine is second, and then from the USA, Blaine Wilson in third, and it is a tight battle. Hello again, everyone. Greg Lewis along with Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson-Clark, 2 stars from the 1980 Olympics, as we look at more recent stars here tonight in this Goodwill Games competition. And it's been very exciting through 3 rotations. Let's look at the Zozuya here on the rings.
He's very clean and has great technique, and he was solid in that rotation, scored a 9.7. A little bit of a surprise that he's doing so well.
Nemov, pommel horse.
And unfortunately, Alexei Nemov got through the more difficult part of his routine. Really had a major error there.
Blaine Wilson, pure guts.
Oh boy, this is the event where it really grinds his shoulder. He has a rotator cuff problem. You can see the grimace there. He went for a move his coach didn't think he should do in the routine. He's going for it all tonight.
Rotation 3, Ivankov shows why he's the world's best.
Beautiful finesse, technique, and perfect landings as always.
And Blaine Wilson comes back with a big vault.
And this guy is an extreme athlete. He goes for the handspring double front. This is the best he's ever done it in competition, and boy, did he need it.
Well, also working with us in our coverage, 1996 gold medalist from Atlanta, Amanda Borden, and she has some thoughts on Blaine Wilson.
I did have a chance to talk to Blaine Wilson earlier this week, and he did tell me that his shoulder was slightly bothering him. But he came into tonight's competition, warmed up nice and easy, and although you did see pain on his face, it doesn't seem to be hindering his performance too much. I know for a fact that Blaine will try to fight through the pain and finish on top of tonight's competition.
And the 4th rotation begins with Ivan Ivankov of Belarus. He is the leader at this point in the competition, and he goes to the vault, the 97 world all-around champion.
Greg, you talk about stress on the Achilles tendon. It's the landing of the vault that is one of the most stressful landings in gymnastics. He's going to load it up with this vault here. He's been getting better all day long. Critical move. Oh, yeah. Nicely done. Well, great technique, huh, Kathy?
Absolutely. He is certainly one of the most prepared athletes at all competition. It's really amazing the work that he puts in, and it pays off.
He has 2 of his best events coming up now, the parallel bars and the high bar. He's in the lead, and he's building, getting stronger as the day goes on. This is the Yurchenko style with a double twist, and he finishes it easily. Less stress on the ankle because he landed so high rather than munching in low.
And the man who is somewhat of a surprise here in 2nd position after 3 rotations, Roman Zozuya of Ukraine. 4th in the all-around 98 Europeans, so he's performing well late in the year.
Uh-oh, little trouble there. Now, this is a very difficult event to get a high score on, unless you do some amazing combinations. He went for a hard one there.
It's funny, he's so clean on the other events, and so far he's been a little sloppy. Leg form. Oh, and a pretty big hop on the landing.
So for the first time, Zozuya may have had difficulties tonight. Ivankov, 9.450. Does say rank #1, but that's the only score in the 4th rotation, so it means that he, by necessity, is going to be the top performer. Alexei Nemov of Russia has had a difficult evening.
He'll go for a vault that has a 10.0 start value. Ivankov had only a 9.8 start value, so his score of 9.45 is reflected there. Oh!
Whoa, that's a big vault.
Won the gold medal, 97 worlds.
He's added a twist here, though. That's really a terrific vault.
Zozuya, his score 9.250. We'll be back with more gymnastics. Welcome back. Fourth rotation, men's all around here in Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, and getting set for the parallel bars is Blaine Wilson of the USA. And Wilson, after 3 rotations, in 3rd place, having a good night, especially Bart Connor, in light of the shoulder problems that have had him worried here. The right shoulder rotator cuff.
Well, I really like this young man. I think he's good for American gymnastics because he's a free spirit. He says, I don't want to be the poster boy for gymnastics. He likes being a little radical. So far, he's disobeyed his coaches twice and has had success on the rings and the vault. Let's see what he comes up with here.
Score for Nemeth on the vault was a 9.550.
Oh, sweet. He's so aggressive. That's impressive to the judges. Once he got by that tricky pommel horse routine where he had to gut it out, his confidence has been soaring.
Blaine Wilson, last 2 American championships won by him on the parallel bars.
You're right, Bart. He is so aggressive, and it just builds from event to event. You can see him fighting for every single trick here. Nice high double pike dismount. Just a step, a sizable step. That will be a deduction.
Setting up for the parallel bars, Alexei Bondarenko of Russia. Parallel bars, gold medalist, 98 Europeans. Here's Blaine Wilson. Wilson has taken over the lead, 9.675 after 4 rotations. And Bondarenko possibly can catch him if Bart and Kathy, he can get more than 9.75 here on this parallel bar routine.
He certainly has a possibility to do that, Greg. He has a very cleverly designed routine. Has a 10-0 start value, which not many gymnasts can do a parallel bar routine these days with a 10-0 start value.
Wilson in the lead. Ivankov is second, 0.1 back. Zazulya third, 0.35 back. Nemeth is in 6th, 1.025 back.
Greg, you see him prepping the bars. Each gymnast has their own formula. They like to get the bars just right. Some use sugar water, some use honey water. Pack on a little chalk to make it tacky so you can hang on, get a good grip as you swing through the bottom.
A real ritual here. You go through the same motions every time?
You do, and some gymnasts are almost very sensitive about the exact formula of what goes on the bars. One of my teammates from the Olympics, Tim Daggett, liked to use Coca-Cola and 9 packs of sugar. Not 7 or 8, but 9. That was what worked for him.
Now, Bondarenko may not use any sugar, but he's hoping for, well, excuse me, a sweet routine.
You can be excused. This is a great routine. It's full of difficulty. He's going to show an interesting combination here. The whole beginning sequence is a series of what I would call kind of quirky moves, but you load them together and he racks up the bonus points. That little hop pirouette. This sequence here, now watch, he goes out to the side bar, back into a 3/4 pirouette to the handstand. That's where he's gotten all of these bonus points. Boy, this is clean. Here's the dismount. Oh, man, it's going to be a big
great
score.
routine. And as you said, Bart, with a 10-0 start value, he begins with an advantage.
Pumped his fist. Knows he needs more than 9.75 to take the lead away from America's Blaine Wilson. Wilson trying to repeat here what was done by Dominic Moceanu last night.
Really was quite creative, using the code of points to his advantage, finding these quirky moves, as you call them, binding them together. But here's where he shines. Fights for the landing, does not move his feet.
And Alexei Bondarenko gets a 9.775 by 0.20 of a point. He gets more than he needed, and he takes the lead away from America's Blaine Wilson. Ivankov in 3rd, and Bondarenko and Wilson. 2 rotations to go here in this Goodwill game. America's Blaine Wilson was 2nd, now in 4th after 5 rotations because of his high bar routine. The leaders now, Ivankov and Alexei Bondarenko. Blaine Wilson not only trying to overcome Bondarenko and Ivankov, but also his own right shoulder.
But it's mostly like a pinching feeling. It's to where it hurts so much that it gives out. And then sometimes it's to the point where there's no pain and it just gives out, period. As far as the mental part of it, you know, I've been trying to figure out how to deal with it for a couple of months now. And yeah, I haven't dealt with it well because I'm just like, I'm not used to being injured. And this one is just, you're trying to work through, and it's just not working. It's just a pain every day. You just wake up, you're like, come on, you know, can I get a break?
Now Blaine Wilson will try to make his own break in the floor exercise and pull himself up from 4th position into a top 3 finish. And here is Joan Wilson, his mom, and nervously looking away.
Critical opening tumbling run. Oh, looks like he might have been out of bounds. The judge didn't raise the flag. Another tricky combination, nicely done. Okay, you know, it's interesting because at the World Championships in Lausanne, Blaine had a disastrous high bar routine, as he just showed here.
After leading, going into that event.
And then he came back to the floor and struggled. He's doing better here than he did in Lausanne. A little trouble on that sequence. At the Worlds, he dropped from 1st in the all-around all the way to 10th after a week. High bar and floor had only an 8.675. He'll do better than that here if he can nail this full twisting double. Oh, no.
And that's definitely out of bounds, without a doubt. Big deduction for all the steps, and a 1/10 of a point on top of that for going out of bounds.
Well, Blaine Wilson so strong early on, and then trouble in the 5th rotation, and here again in the last rotation.
Had a lot of power coming into this full twisting double somersault. Just pulled it around too far.
Absolutely. I think he thought he had to pull a lot harder to make it, and pulled his feet underneath him and had to stumble back.
Blaine Wilson awaits for his score. Ivankov and Bondarenko fight for all-around glory when we return. Alexei Bondarenko is preparing mentally here for his floor exercise. America's Blaine Wilson, a 9.375 in his floor exercise. And ignore the ranking #1 because Bondarenko has yet to go. He is at this point in 2nd position. This is his last rotation. He is 0.175 behind Ivankov, who will be on the high bar. Can you make a forecast, Bart Connor? Can Bondarenko do enough here to take the lead away?
Well, he has a spectacular routine right from the start. Double twisting double. And remember, we talked at the beginning of the show about the injury to his foot. This is where it will affect him the most. This is an important sequence, this 3 sequence. Oh, no. That's going to be a big deduction. That tricky bounding sequence of skills he was just short of rotation on. Could have been that his foot was affecting him there.
Bondarenko only needs an 8.825 to pass Wilson.
Scored a 9.462 at the World Championships on this event. He's so complete. He's balanced. He's strong on every event. Oh, he even left out a twist on that move. He was supposed to do a 1.5 twist. Not only did he miss the element, he lost the potential 1/10 of a point bonus he was going to get. Oh, and an easy dismount for him.
I think it's the foot.
Bondarenko pulls up conservatively in his final rotation and opens the door for Ivankov to hold on to the lead, which he took after 5 rotations.
He doesn't seem to be limping much, but this is the sequence here. Back somersault, 1.5 twister, and he was going to do a Rudy here, 1.5 twist, and just really didn't get the rotation that he needed from the second bounding skill to set up the third.
From Ukraine, Roman Zozulya in third after 5 rotations. He was fourth in the all-around in the 98 Europeans. Bondarenko is now the leader with a total of 56.700, but Zozulya can pass him if he does better than 9.35. And this his last rotation, the floor exercise.
Great moment for this young man who has been really overshadowed by some of the more famous names in the sport. Great start. When you think of men's gymnastics, you think of Ivankov, Nemov, Bondarenko. I believe after this competition tonight, people will consider Zozulya also as one of the top stars of the sport.
With the new code of points, this event is definitely the hardest event to have a high start value. So a 9.35 would actually be a really good score.
He was a vaulting finalist at the World Championships, his first big international exposure, the world level. Last tumbling sequence, a whip to a tuck double, an unusual dismount sequence.
Roman Zozulya. When we return, Ivan Ivankov goes for a Goodwill Games glory. Ivan Ivankov in the lead after 5 rotations, sets up for his 6th rotation. Ivankov will be on the high bar. Roman Zozulya a 9.1, so he was not strong enough to take the lead away from Bondarenko. Can Ivankov do it? He needs more than an 8.525 on this, the high bar. And though he is the world champion, he was only 7th on the high bar in that world championship.
In those finals, he went flying off the high bar in a very dangerous release move. He has a few in this routine. In the all-around final, he made it at the World. Oh, he's very aggressive at the start, almost too quick. One more huge release coming here. Nailed it. Greggy's going to get it. He got through the tough elements. If he can just hang on here through the dismount, that's going to be your gold medalist right there. Oh, yeah.
And it's a beautiful double kissing double. Look at the landing. He's had great landings all day.
The golden boy in these 4th Goodwill Games. Ivan Ivankov from Belarus.
What a nice moment for this gymnast. He does these terrific doubles over the bar. This one in the piked and laid out position. He earns 0.3 of a point bonus. It's what they call a super E move. E for exciting, perhaps. World champion in 1994, and then the Achilles tear in 96, to come back in 97 to win the world championship and be here again at the top of the international field. That's just very exciting.
With a 9.575 on the high bar, Ivan Ivankov takes first place in the men's all-around. Bondarenko second. Wilson climbs back into third with a good floor routine. And Alexei Nemov, the man who dominated in the last Goodwill Games, well, he settles for 7th. How about Sean Townsend, 9th? And he beats some big names. And now let's go down to Amanda Borden with the bronze medalist.
Blaine, we know you were suffering from shoulder pain. We saw you cringe on the rings. Can you tell me how that affected your performance tonight?
Well, it affected a little bit, you know, but try to put it in the back of your mind. It affected on every event. I think Pommel Horse was the worst, you know, because it was starting and I was cold. But after that, I got a little warmed up. You know, just have to get it fixed later.
Well, you came out looking really strong. Did your teammate Dominique Moceano's performance last night inspire you?
Yeah, I talked to her this morning before we came in here, so it was definitely interesting. She said, you know, you got to win because I won, and yeah. But I gave her my best shot, you know, and I'm happy with what I did today. So.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Always is the prankster. The prize money here, $10,000 for Ivankov, $5,000 for Bondarenko, and Blaine Wilson will find a way to spend third place money of $2,500. Remember, tomorrow it is event finals. American Dominic Dawes will try for red, white, and blue gold. But the story tonight is Blaine Wilson for the USA. See you tomorrow night.